Super excited today to welcome you to another episode of Shut Up and Thrive. My name is Brandon Still, and I am joined with the fabulous Deborah Sunderland.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you so much for having us today and for being a super host.
Well, I'm excited to have you here. I'm excited about our guest today.
So am I.
Let me tell you about Ms. Loren Chumley. Loren is the president and CEO of the Nashville Wine Auction, the nation's longest running charity wine auction. Prior to raising money for cancer-fighting charities by putting on world-class wine events, Loren practiced law, served in Tennessee state government, and retired as a partner from KPMG. Loren and her husband, Scott, love to travel the world and also love to be home with their 4 full-time cat children. And the latest round of foster kittens. Look at that, Loren Chumley. Welcome to Shut Up and Thrive.
Good morning.
So glad to have you here. We want to preface that why we do Shut Up and Thrive, like why the title.
Preface it. Just don't ask me questions. I'm not going to know the answers to these questions.
Yes, you
Put me on the spot.
Yeah. So we love practicing celebrating, and we're going to celebrate with Loren all the things she's up to, all the things of where she's going. And we love to celebrate because the unconscious mind tends to not celebrate it. If we're a leader, a CEO, a business owner, leading a not-for-profit or any kind of organization, we carry a heavy load, and we celebrate, but not for too long, because we're on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And sometimes we get overwhelmed and we tell ourselves stories around, I don't have enough time, or I got to do this, I got to do that. And then we can spiral down. So we want to start to catch ourselves where we're not thriving by what we tell ourselves and what we believe. And the first thought is, can I be responsible for how I think? That brings my emotions, that brings my actions, that brings my results. And being aware is everything. So we want to look at, for everyone, what are the stories that are supporting our celebrating, but also the stories that support not celebrating, and how we can shift those. So Brandon, what are you celebrating today?
You know, it's funny you were telling that story, and yesterday we had an offsite, a whole all-company offsite. We typically have a facilitator that comes in, and from EOS or 15 minutes, we have somebody that does this, and we decided to not do that yesterday, and I was the facilitator yesterday for the first time in our company, and I was well prepared. I showed up. I had everything. I think I crushed it. People after me, man, Brandon, you did a great job. Thanks for doing that. That was really cool. But last night, I'm laying in bed, and oh man, the little voices, the little gremlins in my soul started going, you know, you could have done this better. You could have done that better. You could have. And I stopped last night and I went, no, shut up. I'm not going to hear it. I'm not going to do it. And I had like a moment where I took a pause, took some breaths, and I said, no, I'm going to celebrate crushing that yesterday because everybody loved it. So I'm giving myself a little, that's what I'm celebrating today.
And I love that you're celebrating, because guess what? I normally ask people, what are you celebrating? What are you appreciating? What are you appreciating about yourself? And you know what? People are stunned. They're like, and they will tend to say what they did. And I love to celebrate who people are. And who are they becoming? Because that's the most important thing. Of course, we want to celebrate what we've done, but who are we choosing to become is even deeper and more beautiful. And people are like, oh, wow. So checking in with ourselves right now, right here, right now, who are you becoming, Brandon?
A better version of myself. I know that's not the right answer, but...
Well, there isn't a right or wrong. In consciousness, it just is.
I'm becoming conscious.
Yeah.
That's what I'm becoming.
Yeah, more
honestly.
Yeah.
Every day.
Like, because you caught yourself last night being hard on yourself. And we can all be hard on ourselves, dear ones. And so let's practice together learning, because the unconscious mind likes to villainize ourselves or others, or being a victim to the world. And we're not victims. We get to choose who we are by what we think and believe, and learn from the results we have. If we take responsibility to learn at what isn't working and how we unintentionally created it, because we're unconscious 98% of the time, we have a great opportunity. The fail quickly to learn. Let's do that. Failing is awesome because we can learn all the time. There's no failing if we're learning. So, Miss Loren, what are you celebrating about what you've done and also who you're becoming?
Well, I'm going to share a little story with you all. My husband and I were in New Orleans. We did about a 24-hour jaunt to New Orleans to celebrate the accomplishment of one of my dear girlfriends who was awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Wow.
It was astonishing. It was amazing to be there with her, with all of her family and friends to celebrate. But that morning, it's a professional conference, so you have that morning where you gather for coffee and really usually bad rolls and things like that. But it was New Orleans, which meant it stepped up just a titch. And a woman came up to me and she said, "Oh my gosh, Loren, you don't remember me. I actually started with the firm KPMG about 15 years ago, and I want you to know that I saw you, I watched you in the leadership role that you had, and you taught me that I could actually be my authentic self and still be a leader.
Wow.
And I want you to know that I'm now leading the group in the firm that I'm with right now, and I've brought that same philosophy with me." So this was over morning coffee. I hadn't started my day. I was there to celebrate someone else. And two things out of that. Number one, sharing that feedback to me of the impact that I'd had on her. And number two was, and you know what, Loren, I know you weren't expecting me to say this, but I've just gotten to the point in my life where when somebody's done something for me, I just tell them. So two things out of that. I was like, I was not expecting this. It literally took my breath away. And it made me think, I'm so happy that I, as a female leader, had this impact on a woman who was young in her career and had actually helped influence who she became as a future leader. And that has just deeply affected me. And I'm celebrating that.
I love that.
I'm not going to engage in self-flagellation.
Yeah, I love that. I can see it in your eyes, and I
Yeah.
can feel it in your heart that you were deeply touched.
I was so touched.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And that is what leadership is. Leadership is choosing to decide who am I going to be today and how am I going to model taking responsibility for my thoughts, my feelings, my behaviors, and my results that I'm having. Because what happens I've noticed, and kudos to you, because I don't know very many leaders like you, to be honest. Most leaders that I've worked with are beautiful people, but they get anxious and then they can try to control outcomes, and they try to control their executive team, they try to control their people because they're just nervous, they're anxious that they're going to lose. But controlling doesn't work. And what happens is people start to back off, and then CEO is going to do it anyway. I'm only going to do this much. Now they don't do it intentionally in their head. That's just the outcome. And so you showing up for you and working on you and growing, unbeknownst to you, you were modeling how leadership is. And that's amazing.
And shocking. Again, that little voice in the back of your head, you're not expecting it, right? You're not, you sit and you're like, oh my gosh, did I do that right? Oh, did that speech come off correctly? Oh, I should have said this, and make it stop, make the voices stop.
Yeah.
Because it had a positive impact.
I love that.
Thrilled.
What a beautiful gift that you are sharing with us today. So thank you so much. Tell us about the Nashville Wine Auction and how you got into that and what your passion is and where you're going and what you're celebrating.
Well, so if you look at my career path, it literally looks like sort of a zigzagged line. I wish I could say I went from point A to point B in an organized fashion, but I didn't. I've had several different careers. But when you join a large public accounting firm, they actually tell you, as if you come in as a partner, you're going to have a defined retirement date as partner. So it's actually, I knew for sure that when I reached age 60, I was going to be retiring from the firm. And there are some gifts around that, because you can make plans and you can decide, am I going to go on and do work for another firm? Am I going to go practice law? What am I going to be when I grow up at age 60? And this opportunity to actually be the CEO for an organization that I had served on the board just came about with perfect timing. Again, in my zigzag career, sometimes that happened. I loved it. So the previous CEO of this wonderful organization retired, and I got to step into the role. And it's been so fun to transition to nonprofit. There are many things that I love about this organization. We're going to celebrate our 46th year this year at our La Tête event that takes place the last weekend in July. We put on these extraordinary events that bring together a community of people who love great food, love great wine. Usually they love travel. So all sorts of things they have in common. In a time when a lot of the dialogue out there is divisive, we bring people together over things that they love, and we create this great community. And through our events, through our auctions, we raise money for 12 cancer fighting charities in Middle Tennessee. So right now I am in the throes of getting the auction together that will be taking place at the end of July.
That's awesome. And I'm going to be joining you in
Yay.
July. Yay. And I've been to a few of your events already. I can't remember how I met you, but just everyone, if you are in Nashville or if you can get yourself here for any of these events, they are like no other. In fact, I met Sam Davis at one of your events, and he's going to be on a podcast. Just so beautiful. Like, you just never know who you're going to dine with, who you're going to get to talk to, and the wines that you get to taste, phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Phenomenal wines. Wow. Yeah.
Is there a lot of tasting at the events, or the wine auction? Where does the wine actually come from?
So the wine comes from several places. We have a lot of private donors who open up their cellars and make donations to us. We will have people who, for example, are downsizing and say, hey, I've got all this wine. I can't drink 3,000 bottles. It's a first world problem, let's be clear. But they will donate actually to us. We will have wine donated directly from the vintners. So we will make a call out to our friends in California or Oregon or France or Italy and say, hey, can you make a donation? So our wines come to us from many different sources. We want to make sure the provenance is good on those wines. And we will put together auction lots that actually are wine lots, or they are dining experiences. At our event this summer, we will auction off 20 different dinner and tasting experiences where you will get to taste wines that you would not otherwise have the opportunity to taste, thanks to the generosity of our donors.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's really incredible. And I went to one a month or two ago. When was that?
The Burgundy tasting, Burgundy 101.
And we were learning because I always want to learn. I love red wines and don't know really anything about white wine. So I'm going to learn about all of it.
Oh, it's so much to learn about white. I am a level 1 Somm through the quartermasters. In 2003, I did this. And I thought I knew everything about wine going into that. And I knew Napa, I knew like California. And in like the 3-day class or whatever it was, there was like 9 minutes on California. And the rest of it was Italy, France, Portugal, Australia, New Zealand, everywhere else. And I was like, oh, I don't know anything. And it was just so eye-opening. I loved wine because you could never stop learning. And there's always a conversation. There's always a story. And you're constantly developing your palate and then pairing it with food and friends. And gosh, it's just a great connector.
Well, and through our dinner and tasting experiences, we're working with, restaurants, hotels, throughout private chefs throughout the metropolitan area. We place a lot of dinners in those places. And to your point, we work really closely with the chefs on what the food pairings are going to be. Don't ever put chocolate with an Yquem, with a Sauterne. Don't do it. I had somebody try once. Don't do it. But it's so much fun to actually be able to use sort of the creative side of the brain and coming up with these ideas. But it's not just me. Our community is huge. I had a gentleman come to us and say, Loren, I've got 5 decades worth of a wine called Vegas Sicilia. Vegas Sicilia it is probably one of the most, there are 2 incredibly well-known Spanish wines, and Vegas Sicilia is one of those 2 that are just iconic. And we're going to be putting together a dinner that's going to include the wines from 5 decades of his collection. We are going to be, we're working with the chef at Iberian Pig to actually do the dinner. And the CEO of Vegas Sicilia is going to fly from Spain to Nashville to actually walk us through this dinner. So these experiences are once in a lifetime types of experiences that we're going to be auctioning.
Incredible.
It is incredible. And again, it goes to the generosity and the creativity of our community that supports us.
Yeah.
Wow. And then, while all of that sounds fun to be part of and to be able to experience and enjoy, you're helping so many people. lay your head on the pillow at nighttime. That's got to feel good.
It is. We do a beneficiary event every December where we basically give our checks to our beneficiaries. And the folks that accept those checks will tell the stories about how those funds are being used. So whether we're able to fund more wishes at Make-A-Wish, or a particular research project at Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center, or meals to cancer patients undergoing treatment through the Heimerdinger Foundation. There are again, and similar to the wine world, the beneficiary world has a lot of stories too about how the funds that we're raising are going to impact our community of folks that are fighting cancer.
How often do you get to hear the details about patients?
Well, of course, taking into account personal information, we don't, but generally on a broad scale, we try to interact with our beneficiaries very frequently.
Beautiful.
Yeah. We like to have them come and tell stories at our board meetings. We want people to understand the impact of what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it. I think it's amazing. And then Latte event has just been something I've been to one, but it was like 15 years ago. I mean, it's been a long time. I quit drinking 6 years ago completely. So I don't drink at all anymore. So that's probably, my parents just went to Italy for their 50th wedding anniversary. And I was like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to go to Italy because I'm an old world Italian wine guy. And I don't know if I could go to Italy and not drink wine. I just don't know if that's even a thing. Is that a possible thing for people to do?
Well, it would be easy to go to Egypt and not drink the wine.
I
did that in March.
Bad wine there.
That was easy, yeah.
Oh, well, Brandon,
Sorry.
if you're being conscious and you want to go to Italy, you can do anything.
I know.
That's what you tell yourself.
I can totally do it. I'm totally kidding.
It would be a stretch, but yeah, you could do it.
It'd be very difficult for me because I think that one of God's greatest gifts on this planet is Italian food and Italian wine together. I think that's just one of the greatest things that you can experience, indulge in, and just amazing.
It's totally fun. So where are you going for the rest of the year? What are you excited about for your organization and personally?
Well, I tell you what, the trips I'm putting on that we are going to be auctioning off in July, I'm afraid I'm going to be spending all of the money that I make on buying those auction lots. But actually, I am doing a trip in September that we bought at last year's auction, and that's going to be in northern Italy. We're going to experience the Franciacorta wine region. This area sits kind of geographically in between Venice and Milan. And then we will also go to the Piedmont region. So to your point, those
Barolos and Nebbiolos
and Barbarescos.
Barbarescos.
Absolutely. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
And the gorgeous Alps in the background. I mean, that's
wow.
I know.
For you.
I know. It's a hard knock world.
It's so great. So how do you want to continue to grow your organization? Like, what are your plans for us?
This is something else I'm celebrating right now. We have got the most incredible team of people. They love what we do. They're dedicated to the quality and the brand that we bring to all of our events. And it is, we had 2 new employees that started with us, one in December and one in January. And they're so far knocking out of the park. And it is, again, from a leadership standpoint, to have all of the right people in the right places and stand back and let them do what they do well. And as I'm watching them grow, this is my 4th career. So I'm not going to be at the Nashville Wine Auction forever. And it's so fun when you get all of those pieces together in the right place and watch them, to use your word, thrive together and see where they're going in their leadership journey. That's kind of something fun that I'm working on.
When another beautiful leadership's going, I have to applaud you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Just because working with CEOs from across industries over the decades, standing back and watching your people thrive is not something that most CEOs do. So that's another, just that you trust them, that you see them growing, and that you give them the space to grow. That is a gift. So I'm just applauding you on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing. And are you succession planning already?
We will be talking about that with the board coming up soon. So,
yeah. I love that too. And I always tell my CEOs, as soon as you become a CEO is when you start your succession planning.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah, because you don't want to be like, okay, I think I'm leaving. What are you leaving? Who are you leaving? And what are you going into? So, yeah. So when you leave, where are you going? Any idea?
Oh, isn't that a good question? I didn't realize I was going to be, the CEO of the wine auction.
Right.
I figured I was going to go practice law somewhere. So
Yeah.
I don't know. My husband did have a milestone birthday in April that we celebrated with 60 of our closest friends. And it was such a fun celebration watching him. But he's later in his life and he hasn't retired yet. So we'll just see what happens there.
Absolutely. It's interesting because I think, and I'm grateful too, that we can continue working if we want. It used to be
Absolutely.
like certain times, 60 or 62, it's like you're retired and you're washed up. No, it's like I think the younger generations, I'm going to say we are the younger generations, that we want to keep working because we find joy and purpose and all of that. And so as long as you're finding purpose in your life, I'm just celebrating that.
Well, two things I think that are so important. Again, there is something liberating about those milestone birthdays. I think sometimes people look at them the wrong way, but I find them to be liberating. But the two things that are constant in my life is I always want to have purpose. And I always want to have a large community of friends. My friends are amazing. You've heard me use the word community several times in the course of our discussion today. But having that network of people that you love to do things and experience things with is just critical. And I think we've sort of seen if somebody stops working tomorrow without a plan, and they don't have that large community, it's not a healthy way to age.
No, it's not. And I'm going to botch this, but the average percentage is somewhere around 79% of those who retire as a CEO and don't have something else that they go into. They have a lot of regret and they get depressed. So I'm thankful that you have your community and that life is about your purpose and your passion. And I feel that in you and how your impact of just you being you, excuse me, how you being you is impacting the world. I love that. I love these stories.
You're very kind.
We need to hear more of that.
You're very kind.
4 different careers, leadership, all of these careers?
Not all of them. It's interesting because my first leadership role really was in state government. And way back when, I'm not sure if the Tennessee state government's still doing this, but they did something called the Tennessee Government Executive Institute. And they would take folks that were directors in various departments. It was done in affiliation with the University of Tennessee. And I spent 3 weeks in Knoxville with people who were in departments all across state government. And it really was all around honing leadership skills. What's your style of leadership? What's your personality type? Who are the people that you work best with? Who are the ones that are going to trigger you? How do you respond to that? And that was something that I was actually gifted through state government. And I had planned to leave state government and go to private practice. And it's fun because I got a call from then Governor-elect Phil Bredesen on New Year's Eve before he was going to be sworn in later in January. And he actually said he wanted to interview me for the Commissioner of Revenue position. And I said, well, I'm supposed to start a new job at the law firm of Bass, Sims on January the 2nd. He said, well, interview with me tomorrow. So I always tell everybody that was the most quiet New Year's Eve I ever spent in my life. I met with Phil Bredesen on New Year's Day. He is an extraordinary leader.
Oh my gosh.
Extraordinary leader. I literally I loved him from the moment I sat down with him. And I was thrilled because he offered me the Commissioner of Revenue position at the end of the interview. And so I met him, interviewed, got the offer, and then drove to the partner I was supposed to work with at Bass, Sims' house and said, I'm not going to be there on tomorrow. I'm so sorry. I'm not going to be there. But this is an opportunity to actually lead a department in state government, to influence policy, to really be a part of an administration that I think made a huge difference in our journey as a state as well.
Wow.
I love that.
That's amazing. Yeah.
What is your Enneagram number? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Oh, we got to find that out.
Yeah, we're Enneagram people. You probably know that.
When you referenced Governor Bredesen, what traits as a leader do you admire the most in other leaders?
It's funny you actually, because I'm going to talk about him, and there were several little almost quip comments that he would make, and I filed them away. And I use them all the time. One of them is never write checks you can't cash. So what I noticed when he was a leader is if he was making a commitment to someone, there was always somebody there who was actually saying, all right, he has made this commitment. We are going to honor it. So never write checks you can't cash.
That's a great one.
I know it is. And the second is, when you're in a role of leading state government, there are a million problems. But Phil was always focused on, I'm going to pick 3 things that I'm really going to focus on. There are 3 things that I can really make a difference on. And so while there are a million balls in the air that somebody is a leader on, that you're trying to lead through change, that idea of sort of biting off those segments that you can really chew and make an impact on are sort of things that I took away from his style of leadership.
I love that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, how do you take those things into your own leadership style? Like, what would you say? How would you be remembered if you were to leave the wine auction tomorrow? What do you think people would say about your leadership style?
Ooh, isn't that a good question?
That is totally a good question.
I would hope they would use words like passionate, change maker, I hope, and impact.
Beautiful. Love that.
I hope.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. We should ask. I'm gonna ask this when I get back.
No, I just think that's it. Because there's so many different styles of leadership out there, and you seem very comfortable with leadership. Some people are not, or they want to be in control all the time. And I love what you said about letting your team lead. As well, like Jim Collins, good to great. Get the right people, the right seats on the bus, and let them go.
Yeah.
And that's a really difficult skill. It's a difficult skill to be able to do, and you doing that and be comfortable with that. I just didn't know how you saw yourself as a leader.
Well, but I'm going to say that the counter to that is if you don't have the right people in the right spot, then you do have to find yourself controlling. And I don't like myself when I'm that way.
Yeah.
I don't think that people like me when I'm that way. And then it becomes incumbent upon me to deal with where are the problems? What do I need to do to get the right people in the right spot?
And I had a thought when you said about, this is what I hope they'll see in me. And this is something I do ask my CEOs. Would you be willing once a month to have an open door and it's an empty calendar that your people can say, I want to come in 10 minutes and just talk with you. And could be, how is it to be on the other side of me? You could even ask, and you just hear people. Or it could be a time to let's, whatever's on your heart or mind, come and talk to me. And I always tell my CEOs to say, thank you. That's it. Not to fix it, not to change it. Thank you for telling me. Thank you for telling me. And that is a state of vulnerability, and that is a state of authenticity.
Right.
And most leaders, I found, aren't as vulnerable as you. And that's beautiful, because that's where people become authentic and they can be themselves when they know that the leader's authentic and vulnerable. It opens a whole new different way of being. And in our society, people are feeling lonely. They're separated, they're online, working many times, or they just, ever since the pandemic, the numbers show that people are feeling very lonely. And so to have an organization like you're leading, that people can be themselves, can come together and know that it's safe to be that way. Wow, what a gift. I'm just saying kudos to you.
Well, I was going to say that's actually one of the things that I love about the organization. And I think sometimes in the wine world, people can have a perception that it's, what's the word I'm looking for? A little elite or intimidating. And we don't want that. We purposefully design our events to get at people who are exploring and learning. So we call those our wine explorers, the people who actually, maybe they're a little bit more serious about it, but they're not yet at the collector. We call those our wine enthusiast level, and then our collectors. And we try to design our events for all 3 areas on the spectrum, because we don't want anyone to ever feel, if they come to one of our organizations, that somebody's going to be a little, snobby or something about a particular wine. We just don't want that.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
You know who does a really good job with that? Will over at Edley's Barbecue. He does a thing called Pizza with Will. And on every Friday, he shows up at one of his locations with 5 pizzas, and he sets them on a table and says, come eat some pizza with me, but you have to talk to me. You can't, and I don't care what you say. I just want to make myself open for everybody. He sits at a table and just sits there with a stack of pizzas and says, anybody that wants to come by, you can't eat pizza unless you sit down and talk to me. And just, how you doing? How are your wife and kids? Like whatever it is. I don't have to talk about work. It's just, I'm here to open to you. Yeah. So I tried that one time. I did cookies for conversations. And I bought a bunch of crumble cookies. And I sat in the lounge at Maribel and I was like, eat a cookie. Just come talk to me. And it was amazing how much people just sit down and be like, hey, what's up? Hey, what do you do all the time? Like, tell me about your job. And you just kind of tell them about what you do. Or if there's, servers or bartenders or managers, whoever that just come by and you just talk to them. And it was amazing how that little bit of connection and vulnerability went so far. And that reminded me, I'm like, I'm going to do that next week because I need to get back to that.
Yeah, putting it on your schedule to do monthly. And they know that they can plan ahead. Like, I'm getting on Loren's calendar for 10 minutes just to chit chat with her and connect. Like, gosh, do we need it more than ever? And so that's really great that you've done that too. What else are we celebrating before we close today? What else do you want to celebrate?
Ooh, that's a very good question. Let's see. I'm picking up another batch of kittens today. I'm celebrating that I'm now going to have 8 cats in my house tonight.
Are they like little baby kittens?
Well, there's a mom and like 3 little baby kittens. So, we're out there. We can't, you talk about inspiring. I actually do fostering through the Nashville Cat Rescue. And there have been so many emails on the listserv about the need to take care of these sweet little animals. And I think sometimes those foster moms and dads are a little bit overwhelmed. The need is so great. And yesterday morning, there was a whole email exchange going on about, well, my vet says I can't save them all, but by golly, I can save this one. Oh. And they're just so inspiring, these people who open their homes to these little homeless creatures that need our love. So I'm going to be celebrating saving a few more little kittens this afternoon.
I love
Deborah, how do you do that? Like, how do you, because like I love animals and I love my cat, Mr. Mischief. But man, if I had 4 kittens and another mom, like there's no way in hell I'm giving them back.
Right.
Like, I don't know how you give the animals back because I form attachments. Like this one's mine. I love this cat. It's like, no, I'm going to give you a way to go back to wherever. Like, I don't know if I could do that.
Well, so far in my journey, I've actually been able to place all of our fosters with people that I know. So I get text messages in the morning with photos of them growing up. And I've done my job,
Yeah,
I mean, it's
kind of
like, I can't keep them all, but I can place these, and they've all gone to such amazing homes. And it's very expensive to be my friend. Okay. Let me just tell you that, because number one, I'm going to drag you to the wine auction and I'm going to want you to buy something. Okay. And number two, I'm going to say, can you open your home for a cat? So or a dog or whatever,
or even hosting a wine,
or hosting. Oh, can you open your home and host all these people?
I didn't want to be friends with you anyway.
Okay, so I just want to celebrate you again, Loren, because your heart drives you, and it's very apparent. Oh. You have this big, beautiful heart for people and animals. Your husband, growing, learning, seeing yourself, being open to leading. And vulnerability on that authenticity. Like, we need more of you in the world. So just appreciating you. How do people find you, find the wine auction, get involved? How do they reach out?
Well, it's very easy. We've got a very active social media program and our website, NashvilleWineAuction.com. If you just go to that website, you can find everything. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Just Nashville Wine Auction.
I love it. And do you have room for people in July?
Absolutely. We still have tickets available right now.
Okay. And tell us, what are the offerings for July?
So it's a Latte event. It takes place over 3 days. On Thursday, July 24th, we're going to be at the Four Seasons Hotel. It will be a vintner's tasting, a seated moderating tasting with our guests of honor, Philippe and Cherie Melka. And they will be teaching everything you want to know, and they will be presenting 6 of their wines, and they'll walk you through that evening.
I'm going to that.
Yes, and you learn so much from those. They're so fabulous. Then on Friday,
learn about white wines.
I am ready to learn.
Absolutely. On Friday night, we have our patrons dinner. That is a black tie optional affair. Everybody gets very gussied up for that. We'll be presenting a lot of wines from folks who are actually clients of Philippe Melka. He in addition to having his own winery, he does a large amount of wine consulting And I think he may have more 100-point wines than just about anybody out there.
Wow.
So a lot of his featured vintners will be sharing wines on Friday. And then on Saturday night at the JW Marriott, we have our dinner and live auction where you will find a selection of extraordinary wines. The dinner itself is a bring your own wine event. We have people walking in with roller bags and book bags and ice coolers and everything of the wines they're going to share that evening at the dinner. But we will be offering wine lots, fabulous dinners and tastings like the Vegas Sicilia one I talked about earlier, as well as pretty incredible trips all around the world.
Amazing. Thank you for bringing your passion to us today, celebrating you. Brandon, I'm looking forward to having our June celebration of your journey when we get to be together.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, lots of beautiful learnings for you as well that you've shared.
Hey, it's every day,
and
hopefully that never stops.
Yeah, well, let's just make it that way. We'll just keep learning.
Constant learning, right?
Constant learning.
Lifelong learning.
And what could be better? Really, if we're just here to learn and grow and thrive, and that's the best. I appreciate you, Brandon, for hosting us again and being you and being awesome.
Thank you both for having me on the program. Thanks.
Well, it's so nice to meet you, and I love what you do, and thank you for what you do. I know it's fun and you get to enjoy it, but I know it's a lot of work also to put all of these things together, but it's for a great cause, and you bring joy to a lot of people, and I love that.
Thank you.
All right. I guess we're going to say goodbye until next time, right here on Shut Up
and
Thrive.